Over the years we have had loads of Call of Duty Zombies maps. I think it's something like 30, perhaps 40. Around that number, it's a lot. We have had maps taking place in ancient castles, gloomy swamps, alternate versions of history, the Battle of Stalingrad, with dragons and giant robots. We've also had more boring or traditional maps that just take place in standard facilities. But over the years, from World at War II Black Ops 4, we saw a wide variety of maps that took place all across the globe, where for the most part we followed 4 characters, Richtof and Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey. In Black Ops 4 their story came to an end, they died, and then ever since Cold War a new storyline began where Zombies was almost reset. And all of a sudden, along with this new story, you noticed a shift in maps, going from crazy ones such as Duraz Draka, Shadows of Evil, Gorod Karovi, Revelations, Origins, Buried, to D Machine, Firebase C, Mao the Toten, Forsaken, all taking place in facilities or abandoned bases. The maps became less extravagant because the storyline did. We do still have the presence of the Dark Ether, and now and again, as we've seen in Modern Warfare 3 and towards the end of Vanguard, and occasionally in Cold War, that world is shown in maps. But for the most part, this new storyline is a lot more vanilla, not allowing for Treyarch to put us in those crazy situations like they used to. And I think the main culprit for that is that we now only have one universe, whereas before we had the multiverse, allowing hundreds of thousands of different dimensions to exist, meaning hundreds of thousands of different scenarios that you could have for maps. For example, back in Revelations, we were told by Dr. Monty that in one of the dimensions, everybody that existed in it had one arm, and it was Tank Dempsey who was the one-arm push-up champion. But the multiverse also meant that crazy situations such as us seeing dragons and robots, floating objects in maps, upside down maps, going to Argotha, was possible. But now that we have only one universe that exists, and this universe is semi-grounded in realism, excluding all of the Dark Ether stuff, it means Treyarch can no longer just say, well, there is a universe out there which is super crazy, let's go there. There is another dimension out there where everything is stupid, over the top, unrealistic, but it doesn't matter because that is that dimension. But this one universe that we now have in Cold War, Vanguard and Modern Warfare 3 doesn't allow, or at least so far from the maps we've seen and the storyline that we've been told, for us to have stuff like that. I do know a lot of people prefer this new storyline because it's a lot simpler and more straightforward to understand, but in my opinion it's not as fun, and it isn't as interesting. Yes, it's also not as built up, whereas the old storyline had, World at War, Black Ops 1, 2, 3 and 4 to build up on. So far the new Dark Ether story has had 3 games, so it's actually not that far behind. Another 2 including this year's Black Ops 6, and this new storyline's almost had the exact same time that the old one did to branch itself out and make itself interesting, but so far, it's not there. It isn't at the interest level for me at this stage that the old storyline was 3 games in Black Ops 2. I do occasionally wish they didn't continue this storyline after the children, Samantha and Eddie, went into the light, into that new universe. I wish it ended there, and instead, after that, go back and tell stories from within that multiverse that we never heard of, with either characters that we had played with, so Primus, Ultimus, Victus, etc., or new sets of characters that existed within that multiverse. And what's intriguing about this is towards the end of Black Ops 4, there was an interview done with Treyarch. They were asked the question, is this truly the end of the story? And if so, how hard is it to put a bow on this epic legend and say goodbye to our favourite characters? And Treyarch replied, honestly, we're still processing it. We're in the middle of writing some major stuff for our beloved characters, and it's emotional. With the multiverse established, there will always be other stories to imagine. But in terms of Primus, Ultimus and Victus, this is the end of the line. So what's interesting is Treyarch said, as they were wrapping up that old story, because they'd established a multiverse within that timeline, that meant there was always other stories within it to imagine. So Treyarch were even thinking this themselves. If they didn't continue on after Black Ops 4 with Cold War, because that's essentially what it is, even though the multiverse was destroyed, the story of Samantha and Eddie continued where they are now grown up. But an alternate route Treyarch could have taken was, instead of doing that, yes, still destroy the multiverse at the end of Black Ops 4, but in the next game, so Cold War, go back to the multiverse, but we now play it from other characters' points of view, characters that perhaps we didn't know existed. Tell their stories from within the multiverse, what they witnessed, their events with the Undead and what they had to do to survive. For example, in Black Ops 1, Treyarch told the story of a separate cast of characters, which was the Call of the Dead crew. Even though their storyline was tied to Ultimus, helping them obtain the Golden Rod, Call of the Dead was really about the survival of those cast of characters. In Mob of the Dead, that map felt more like a personal storyline, especially because it took place in Purgatory. The main Easter egg in Mob of the Dead revolved around Al, Finn, Billy and Sal's crimes and them murdering people. The final boss battle, the ending, was between those characters either escaping or continuing the cycle by killing the Weasel or him exacting revenge. Mob of the Dead felt like a personal story of those sets of characters, but was still a part of that whole timeline, that whole multiverse. We also had Shadows of Evil, which told the story of Nero and the crew, their sins and their journey to redemption. Whilst yes, the Shadow Man was involved and so was Richtofen towards the end, you get the point. Because of the existence of the multiverse, maps like this were possible, meaning Treyarch, after the end of Black Ops 4, could have gone back to the multiverse partway through it and told stories of other characters that existed that we didn't learn of, because we know there were many more survivors out there that had their own personal stories to tell. But it was also the same for characters that we did know. So Victus, there are plenty of things that they've done together and separately that we never got to play out in game. On their journey as they travelled from Die Rise to Buried, I'm pretty sure, just going off memory, that was like a 3-month journey. They travelled across multiple countries. I'm pretty sure, I'm 100% certain, they would have come across zombies on their travels. In fact, we know they did, because if we look at the Buried cutscene, we see Victus fighting the undead in locations that we've never seen before. They fought zombies in a flooded city, they fought zombies on a pirate ship, they fought the undead in this place right here, yet we never got to play any of this out. What Treyarch could have done after the end of Black Ops 4 is gone back and told other stories like this. They could have given us this pirate ship map with Victus on. They could have shown us what they had to do to survive this scenario. It's the same with Primus and Ultimus. From the beginning of the Great War to their end in Black Ops 4, they travelled to many other places that we never heard of or got to see that would have made for epic zombies maps. There is the question, knowing that they died in Black Ops 4, would that then have made anything else to do with them less satisfying, because ultimately we know their end, that they would die? Maybe, but I think because they were such a cool set of characters, that was something you could overlook. The Great War was a map that we never got to play, everybody wanted it, that would have been amazing. In the Call of Duty Zombies comics, we find out that Misty, Morton, Schulinger and Russman travelled to one of Broken Arrow's facilities, this right here. They uncovered the creation of creatures such as the Denizens. This would have made for a cool story for Treyarch to tell through a new zombies map. We also know they went to Zero Base in the Empty Earth. Because of the multiverse, that meant there was endless possibilities that Treyarch had to continue to tell stories within that timeline. Just simply go back before it was destroyed and show us other events from other characters that happened, because there was hundreds, thousands, millions. What they even could have done is, we know Treyarch like to bring maps back as remakes. We've had The Giant being the Reese, Classified being 5. Well, in certain maps such as The Giant, if they were to bring that back as a remake again, which I would take, it's a good map, they then could have told the story of the first outbreak that happened there and how Group 935 was disbandoned. Or if they brought back a Verrucht remake, you could tell that story from the point of the original 4 survivors, John, Smokey, Gunnar Ridge and Dempsey. Yeah, when I think about the unlimited potential scenarios that went down and existed within the multiverse, it kind of makes me sad, because to me that sounds a hell of a lot more interesting than what we currently have. I don't know how far this new Dark Ether story is going to go. Is it going to end in Black Ops 6? There's a chance. There is a rumour that Treyarch are making another zombies game next year in 2025, so will it end then? It's got to finish sometime, because we will be 5 to 6 games in by that point. That is the same amount of games we had before the old timeline ended in Black Ops 4. When it does end, all I'm saying, there is a massive opportunity there, and a good one, to start exploring other events from the time of the multiverse. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.